MiniWarGaming rules you got wrong.
Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to this week's Rules You Got Wrong 40K edition. Rules You Got Wrong is a show where we go over your comments from our battle reports where you think that we got things wrong, and we either check to make sure that you're right or find out that you're wrong. Sometimes it happens one way, sometimes it happens the other. So if you ever want to leave rules comments on our videos, we ask that you do two things. One, check to make sure that somebody else hasn't already done it, because sometimes we can get the same rules mistake over and over and over and over again in the comment section. And two, if possible, put a timestamp of where it happens. That way we can look it up. We film our battle report sometimes weeks in advance, and so we can't remember all the details of them, and it really is helpful to be able to know where in the video it happened. So we're going to go into my Horus Heresy battle reports, and we'll start with the Salamanders versus Alpha Legion. We've got our first comment from Loves to Do Something. I'm not going to read your whole username there. Good game, very funny. As for the rapiers, it's one of the greatest debates online, and I just want to point out that our question was, does a laser destroyer array have 48-inch range, 36-inch range? There's different, like laser destroyers have one profile, laser destroyer arrays have a different profile, but they weren't in the book, and it was very confusing. My group tends to play them as 36 inches, as we feel 55 points is a little light for such an effective shooting piece. We actually looked it up, and we found that laser destroyer arrays are 48 inches, and we found it in the Solar Exilia book. And so I don't know why we had to go into another book to find it, but it was there. Somebody else later on, I'll get to that comment later on. So that we will use it that way. Also, not to be that guy, but the librarian entry is very specific, that they can only choose one of the lores from the main rule book. It is cool to use the Angels of Death powers with them, but it's a house rule at best, not part of the official rule set. That being said, if you're cool with it, and I assume you were, then it's all good. I was cool with it, but I didn't really think about it. I may have told him not to if I had realized what the actual rune was. And that's before knowing how stupidly powerful being able to reroll Cataphractic Terminator saves is. So it's not even anything to do with that, it's more just about correctness. Now somebody pointed out on a YouTube comment that said something similar to you, that Forge World said it's actually okay to use the Angels of Death psychic powers. But I haven't been able to find that. So it might have been like on a Facebook post somewhere, and that's hardly anything but official. Because it's one thing for Forge World to be like, yeah, if you're friends and you want to use it, go ahead. And for them to say in an FAQ, yes, these are legit. And so until I can find an official source, more than just a single Facebook post, I would say, yeah, you're right, don't use the Angels of Death powers. The General. Hey Matt, great game, really fun to see some new units on the field. Just an FYI, Venerable and Tank Hunter don't actually conflict. You're right. I don't know why my brain was thinking that Venerable meant that I could force you to reroll your armor pen. Venerable is that it can force you to reroll what you roll on the vehicle damage table if you get an armor or if you get a penetrating roll. And so you're right. Tank Hunter allows you to reroll armor pen. Venerable allows the owner of the Dreadnought to force you to reroll the results of the vehicle damage table if they don't like it, although they have to take the second result. So totally right. Red Corsair. You cannot charge a Dreadnought backwards because line of sight is a requirement for assaults. Walkers are vehicles and as such do not have 360-degree line of sight. Well, I disagree with you there. Walkers do have 360-degree line of sight. Their weapons, however, do not. Because when you look at a vehicle can see in all directions. It's the weapons that you check line of sight for when you're firing. And so a walker is the same way. Now what I could have done is I could have had the walker facing the thing I was charging, and I could charge it in and then I could spin it at the end, because spinning is free movement. So either way, you could pull off being able to charge the vehicle and then have your back facing it. But as we found out, that wasn't such a good idea. As it exposes your rear armor to the vehicle. And any occupants, of course, will be able to overwatch against your rear armor if you were facing backwards when you declared the charge. But I do disagree. I think walkers, it doesn't say that they don't have 360 line of sight. It says their weapons have a 45-degree arc. And we even know that in Overwatch they can fire 360 because they can spin around and fire that way. Adeptus Antonius. Hey Matt, great bat rep as always. Just a heads up, the Spartan Land Raider has 5 hull points. So that first turn charge from the Alpha Legion Terminators would not have wrecked the Land Raider. Yeah, I don't know why my brain thought it had 4 hull points. That would have been nice not to have lost it. I made a huge tactical error anyway, so I kind of deserved to have happened what happened. Like, I shouldn't have been so aggressive with the Spartan and with those Pyro class. But it was a learning experience for me. Typically, I bring Fire Drakes instead of a Spartan, and they would have been just fine in that fight. But In this case, no. Pyroclasts are not meant to be used the way that I use them, so I have learned from that. Blight02. Don't digital weapons give you 1 reroll to wound per assault phase? So this is where 30k can get a little confusing, because they use similar rules to 40k, but not always the same. Digital weapons definitely do give you 1 reroll to wound in 40k. I didn't have digital weapons, or he didn't, or I didn't, I can't remember which one. I had digital lasers. And digital lasers give you an extra attack. It's way better than digital weapons because digital weapons lets you reroll 1, but digital lasers gives you an extra attack, which gives you a higher chance of doing more damage. So you are right and you're wrong. You're right that's what digital weapons do, but we had digital lasers, and that's different in 30k. Elliot Smith, don't mean to be that guy, but wouldn't those Promethean pipes only confer a 5+ save, as it isn't a ruin or a building, etc.? Or am I missing something? You're not that guy, and you're absolutely right, and you're also absolutely wrong. Promethean pipes, if you look at their data sheet, do give a 4-up cover save. However, we weren't technically using the Promethean pipes data sheet, because then you have all sorts of other stuff, like if you make a cover save, then it could explode, or you can actually use a flamer and get torrent with them. We don't use those rules. And so it's really, when it comes down to cover, it's up to you and your opponent to agree on things beforehand. And then really anything can become legitimate at that point. We basically say that when we look at Promethean pipes, we're going to use them like the data sheet, but without the extra bonuses. Because nobody paid for the Promethean pipes, because you can actually buy them as a fortification. Furthermore, somebody else, I forgot to put their comment on here, I realized afterwards, said that if you shoot through a ruin and not into it, it's only a 5-up cover. Because it specifically says that models in the cover get 4-up, and then it says if you shoot through difficult terrain, or battlefield debris, then it's 5-up cover. Once again, that is both correct and incorrect. It is correct if you just look at it straight up that way. It's incorrect because our ruins are all buildings that have walls. And under battlefield debris, it says barricades and walls give a 4-up cover to those behind it, not just those in it. And so it's totally arguable that you could say, well, that's not what they mean. Barricades and walls is like the Aegis defense line, or it's like, something that's actually built to be like this barricade or something. And once again, you could be totally right. Terrain is one of those things that's not super defined in 40k, and so you need to decide with your opponent beforehand how to play it. And so we have a general rule of thumb that if you're partially blocked by ruins or a building, that it gives a 4-up cover save. And that's just how we play it. If you disagree with that, that is perfectly fine. When you play with your friends, you can say, no, when you shoot through ruins, it's only ever a 5-up cover, no matter what the ruins look like. But if you're in it, then you get a 4-up cover. Heck, you could agree with your friends that all the ruins are dilapidated so much that they only provide 5-up cover, or that all of them are so well structured that they provide 3-up cover. It really is up to you, because terrain is one of those things where you can create your own data sheets. Like, we could basically say that the MiniWarGaming ruins has a data sheet, which is they are ruins that provide a 4-up cover to those behind it, which is essentially what we've done. We have actually had to do that with a lot of our terrain. Our buildings, for example, don't follow any of the rules that are really in the 40k rulebook, because the 40k rulebook doesn't have real rules for impassable buildings and how you're supposed to treat going up them. What's the top like? Is it like a battlement? What happens if they're partly covering? They only have rules for buildings that you can occupy, like the ones that they sell. So they have a lot of rules for things they sell, and not so much for things that you scratch build. So it's up to you to kind of create those rules for yourself. And so we've decided on that. But so you're not that guy, and you're also not wrong in the sense that it could be 5-up cover. It's just what we decided. Ghost Howl 38, Laser Destroyer Array gives you the power capacitor rule in the Legion Vindicator siege tank section of the Age of Darkness Army book. If the tank does not move, it becomes Ordnance 2, and you can overcharge it to Ordnance 3, but basically gets hot. I 100% disagree with that. That is specifically for that Vindicator because it's got a big power thing. Especially, it even has rules for if you get a weapons destroyed on it, that it gets all of that extra stuff. I do not believe that the Laser Destroyer Array on that gets those rules as well. Not just because of a balance issue, which if you think about it, artillery never moves, so it'd always get the 2 shots, and that would be ridiculous for these little artillery batteries. But also the fact that it could get 3 shots if it wanted to. Like, putting aside the fact that it would be super overpowered, that's just not true. The Legion Vindicator has that special rule, not the Laser Destroyer Array, that it can supercharge its Laser Destroyer Array. Andrew Kerr, this is not a rules you got wrong, but I wanted to address it. Holy heck, that Salamander's chaplain looks awesome. How did you get his cloak to look like that? Is it a conversion, or did you use green stuff to model it? That is a conversion that Lee did. And I think he used green stuff and scale and to make all the scales. He's really good at converting. That's one of his biggest strengths. He's good at painting. He's good at all sorts of stuff. But I think if you had to list all his skills in order of awesomeness, his top level one, is his ability to scratch build and convert stuff. And so that's what I love to use him for. Stefan Nissan, for salamanders, wouldn't the rule for sweeping advance only affect them if they are sweeping and not when they're falling back? Or am I misreading the rules? It affects them both ways. The rule, if you're not familiar with it, is salamanders have a rule that they do not add their initiative to sweeping advance rules, or sweeping advance rolls, which really sucks because that means they basically always fail them. But a sweeping advance roll, if one side in close combat beats the other side and that side fails their morale check, both sides make a sweeping advance roll. They roll a d6 and add their initiative. So whether you're the winner or the loser, you actually both make it, which means if you have the Crusader special rule, which allows you to add d3 to sweeping advance, that also helps you to escape as much as it helps you to overtake. So yeah, the salamanders don't get to add their initiative, which means they lose combat, most likely they're overrun. And it's not like the Space Marines from 40k where if they get overrun they just become fearless. No, they're dead. So you don't want them to lose combat. And that's it for the Salamanders versus Alpha Legion 1. We didn't have our Vault battle report, the Solar Auxilia versus Night Lords, which was an awesome battle report, I think. At least the game was a lot of fun. It came down to a bit of a nail-biter at the end, just an unexpected ending. So let's just go into a few of the things here. Stravo 1, awesome bat rep, gents. Question, Matt, at 26 minutes you fired your Lehman Russ's gun on a terror squad and you said the blast was AP3 and there was no longer night fighting, so no rolls. However, hadn't that squad gone to ground in the earlier turn? Will they have had a 5 or 6 up save? Very cool report. The first time I'm seeing Solar Auxilia in action. It's only matters if they went to ground during my shooting phase. If they went to ground the previous turn, then they would have stood up in their turn. So I don't remember exactly because at 26 minutes we'd have to rewind and really watch a bunch of minutes. So if they had gone to ground, you're right, they should have got a save. But I'm not 100% sure there. Come to buy. Rules you got wrong. In my humble opinion, your Strategos couldn't have fired that orbital because he moved, and it is treated as an ordnance weapon. You're absolutely right. At 53 minutes in, the Basilisk also hit the Dracosin, but you forgot to roll armor pen. So, you're right there. We just forgot that. And I don't think that the Cognisignum with its 6-inch range could give the +1 ballistic skill to the Basilisks. It absolutely can. I looked it up again just to make sure it didn't say non-vehicle. It gives basically, if it doesn't shoot, it can give another friendly unit in your control +1 ballistic skill, as long as it's not an independent character or a super heavy vehicle. That's the two exceptions. I don't know why independent character. That doesn't seem like it's a big deal to give an independent character +1 ballistic skill, because they're usually going to be good at it anyways. Maybe there's just some min-maxing you could do that would be really awesome. But super heavies, yeah, sure. Don't give your super heavy Titan or Baneblade +1 ballistic skill. Come to buy at in about an hour 14. How come the laser destroyers become quad multi-lasers? Did I accidentally say they were laser destroyers at any point? Because even when I looked at that point, I called them multi-lasers. They're actually multi-lasers. They're even modeled as multi-lasers. In fact, I think I'd use them as laser destroyers. I don't mind using them as laser destroyers as well, but those are quad multi-lasers. Protoss Bane 2704. Demolisher cannons are strength 10, not 8. I think I just fired the Lehman Russ or something so many times that when I fired the Demolisher cannon, and it would have glanced that drop pod. I rolled 2 2s, so it wasn't that big a deal. Strength 10 against armor 12 would have been a glancing hit rather than nothing, but I don't think it would have made a difference in the game. But you're absolutely right, they're strength 10, not 8, so that was a bit of a mistake. And then to finish it all off, let's do it with a positive note. Disciple of Caliban, Matt, you cheater. I started to get a feeling that you were picking and choosing which FAQs you used, saying some were not official yet. But then I saw evidence. At around 1 hour 11 minutes, you say your terror squad can only throw 1 grenade against the Dracosin, which was something clarified in the FAQ. But earlier in the game, when the Night Lords player used barrage fire, you said it only hits 1 floor, even though it clearly states in the 7th edition templates hit all floors. This left a really sour taste in my mouth. Please be fair and either use all the rules or none of them. This made watching this bat rep quite hard after that realization. Well, it's a little harsh, especially because it proves that you're not really watching all our battle reports, because I have talked about this several times. We are using the new FAQs, at least in my battle reports I am, but we still have a couple of house rules. One of the house rules is that we're not allowing blast to hit every single level, and the other house rule is no, the drop pod doors don't count as part of the model. Those are basically the 2 major ones that we ignore that are in the new FAQs. It is totally fine to have house rules. We've always had lots of house rules. The multi-level rune thing is because the terrain that we use a lot of multi-level terrain, and so it just doesn't work to have somebody way up here firing a flamer and hitting everybody underneath. So I take a bit of offense that you call me a cheater, because I wasn't. I've been only throwing 1 grenade and melted bomb per assault phase as well when it's on my side. And at the same time, the ruins thing, I've had games where I fired and only hit 1 level of the ruins as well. And so that's a little harsh, but hopefully you understand that I'm not trying to cheat. We're using the new FAQs, but there's a couple of house rules. So we do multi-level ruins, or we do blasts and templates hit only 1 level, and barrages hit the top level of where the center is, and drop pod doors don't count. So hopefully that confirms it for you. So let's go into everybody else's battle reports.
Hey, and I have some from my last Horse Heresy game with Mitch. We did a big 4,000 point game with demons and a very large gargantuan creature whose name I can't pronounce, nor will I try, but it is the one model we kept calling or referring to as Big Bird throughout the game. Vive123 says, that guy with a really long name has still no pin because he's a gargantuan creature. Yes, we forgot about that the entire game. But I think I only fired at it 1 or 2 turns and just gave up on him. But yeah, I know he probably would have had even less wounds. And Jackal 1994, per Rebel has It Will Not Die. I will never remember to roll that. Peter Hack at 950. Is this a 30k rule for the D hit? So there's been a couple comments about that, but yeah, Strength D has a little bit of a different rule set than in 40k. Blighto 2, where's the rerolling invuln saves come? This hasn't been a thing since 5th edition. Blight, that's actually exactly the same thing as it was at the timestamp, was a D thing, where you have to reroll your successful invulns. So that's 30k Horse Heresy Strength D. Master Dirk 420. The Soul Grinder was invisible, and invisible stuff can't be hit by blasts. That is incorrect. He can't be targeted by blasts because he has a snapfire against them, so you couldn't target them, but the blast scattered onto him. A couple people actually said same thing as you. They can't be affected or hit by blasts. That is absolutely incorrect. They can totally be scattered upon, and a lot of people still believe that they're just immune to them. Rilk 2? No, just Rilk. Also, Per Rebel must have Feel No Pain, right? The most cybernetic dude ever doesn't at least get a 6-up bionic save. No Feel No Pain. Just his It Will Not Die that I will, again, forget forever. Conrad Kerr says, 2709, the grinder would scatter because the banner wasn't there in the... the grinder would scatter because the banner was there in the previous turn. This is another one where a number of people comment the same thing, where demons are deep striking in, and then with the icon, and another unit deep strike after that. And a lot of people are thinking that they have to have that banner on the table at the start of the turn to use it, and that is just not the case. A lot of the marine items, like homing beacons, state that. The demon icons and the Tau homing beacons don't require that. So there's a misconception. A lot of people still believe that those guys should have scattered, and no, sorry, Conrad Kurz, you're wrong. Sir Donald, rules you got wrong. Oh, this is my next game with Malik. The Fire Raptor has strafing run, and its Avenger bolt cannon is twin linked, so we've been hitting on 2s, re-rolling. Great fun to watch. Bantry batter from you, Steve. Yeah, I just didn't really want to hit that well. I didn't want to use all my rules. That's why. HJC74, why do the SOH veterans have outflank and sniper? Because the most recent red book that was updated for the Legion of Astartes changed the veteran special rules. They no longer have the option of, I think it used to be fearless. I forgot them all. Either way, there was one that was outflank and one that was sniper. Those 2 options are no longer available. Now there's one called marksman, which actually gives you both. Because I remember thinking sniper seems like the obvious choice, but sometimes you want outflank, but now you can do both. And there are also a couple of new ones. So if you haven't checked out the new book on those new veteran rules, there's Machine Killer, which is, I think, a little underrated. I like that one a lot. But yeah, there's new rules for the veterans that have been tweaked a little bit. Ooh, come to buy at 7:15. The orbital the orbital bombardment pens on both contemptors because it was barrage. His hit side armor of 11. Completely forgot they were contemptor Cordis. Yeah. Kamikaze Thunderhawk. Oh, so to clarify that one actually. Contemptor Cortuses only have armor 11 on the side, so my brush hit them, it would hit him a little bit better. Thinking that they were the regular Cortuses at the time. Just a brain fart. But yeah, totally, you're absolutely right. I could have did a little better against them. So Kamikaze Thunderhawk says, Machine Spirit does not confer BS5 to your shot, Steve. Yeah, I don't know what you're trying to say, because I know that. Machine Spirit allows me to fire another weapon at full ballistic skill at another target if I wish. I don't know what, you don't know timestamp. So I don't know why you're saying that. Jacintor, some guy on the internet. I don't know how to say your name, dude. Pretty sure chain axes are AP4, not +1 strength. No, that's incorrect. Now, again, I think it's also the new red book, where they actually got it, but chain axes are now +1 strength, AP4. So yeah, they were totally legit there. They're +1 strength now in 30K. And that's all I got from my Horse Heresy and or 40K.
That's it for today's Rules You Got Wrong. Please leave your comments below of anything you would disagree with or agree with, whatever. And then in future battle reports, continue to leave your comments of it anytime you think that we do get rules you got wrong. Anything we get rules wrong. And we'll discuss those in future videos. Thanks for watching. Happy wargaming.